very first full-length cooking video, and I'm so excited. I'm about to burst. Bacon, mushroom, spinach, onion, quiche, lots of Swiss cheese, Parmesan cheese. My daughter not only got to help me cook, she also helped me film. So, anyway, I hope you truly enjoy it. I hope you both enjoy watching it, and if you decide to cook it, you will never regret it. Starting to get our mise en place together for my bacon, spinach, and Swiss with mushroom quiche. And I've got my daughter Heather helping me prepare tonight's dinner. She's here spending some time with me for Father's Day, and she's getting some bacon ready to bake. This is the only way to do bacon. You need to get a pan with a wire rack and set your oven to 400 degrees, and I'd say it's about 12 minutes or so, and you will have some perfect bacon. But along with that, you will get liquid gold, which is your bacon fat. So we're going to take the bacon off, drain the bacon fat, and we're going to use that to cook our spinach, our garlic, and our onion. In that bacon fat, we're going to get a nice rich bacon flavor into this quiche. Hey y'all, just gonna do a little prep work for the bacon quiche, using my preference in knives, which happens to be the Wusthof. One thing you want to make sure of is how you hold the blade. Now, a lot of people will put their finger over here like this. You do not want to do that. That's an accident waiting to happen. So what you want to do is essentially hold this by the balance point, which is typically going to be right at the end of your blade, where your blade meets your handle. In this case, I'm going to be cutting a sweet Vidalia onion. I've cut one end off to give me a nice flat surface to cut with, and I leave the other end on, the root end. It helps to hold the onion together while you're cutting it. So I'm just going to start a brief cut here, and another cut, and do that again. And that's good enough right there to get you to a point where you can go ahead and peel your onion. And right now I need to check on my bacon. I'm sure you have noticed that there's not much kitchen here to work with. In fact, you can do anything in a tiny kitchen you can do in a much larger kitchen. It just takes a little more planning. So anyway, this bacon looks like it's about done. Obviously, once it cools, it's going to crisp up a little bit more. But what I want to do is make sure that I use this bacon grease. So I'm going to pour this off into the pan that I'm going to be cooking my spinach and my onion and my garlic. Going to be sauteing all of those items before I put them into the quiche. Some people will put those in there raw. I like to do it so that I can build the flavors and it, to me, gives you a better end result than putting your ingredients fresh into the quiche. Even though that quiche is going to bake for about 45 minutes, your ingredients that you put into the quiche will cook, but this is one way to build the bacon flavor into the quiche. So anyway, let's see, I've got a fair amount of grease there, but I think I'll add just a little bit more. So, yeah, you don't have to get all this. Alright, so I've got my bacon grease into the pan. The bacon is going to sit here and cool until it's cool enough to a point where I can chop it up finely or put it into a food processor, however you'd like to mince that up, depending on how fine you want it, how quick you want it done, etc. So anyway, I'm going to go back to working on the garlic and the onion. I've got some mushrooms and some basil to add to that, and the spinach. All that is going to wilt down. Well, the spinach is going to wilt down. I am going to saute the garlic and the onion in the bacon fat until it becomes translucent. And typically people will throw their garlic, their onion, whatever their vegetables might be, into the pan at the same time. And a little hint is that depending on the density of the vegetable, the size of the cut, those things are all going to become translucent or sauteed at different times. So obviously garlic can burn, onions are fairly tough, peppers are a fairly tough item. So I like to start by sauteing my onion, peppers, any firm vegetable is best to try and saute first, get it a little head start, and then follow that up or finish that up with your garlic, because that's going to take the least amount of time to be cooked and prepared. Alright, I'm sure everybody's seen this done 100 times before. If you ever watched the Food Network, I'm sure you've seen this happen. But to get the skin off your garlic and prepare it for dicing, slicing, mincing, however you plan to prepare it, the best way to do it is to give it a good smash. And that way the skin will peel right off. And what you get is a nice big chunk of garlic. So I always, I'm a garlic fanatic. So well, typically I don't cook by recipes, but if a recipe says 3 cloves of garlic, I'll usually use 9. So that should tell you what a garlic fanatic that I am. Anyway, there you go. You see the peel come right off again. And that's ready for slicing. And then I'll finish that up in a minute. And then I've got some fresh basil I grow out on my patio. All my things are grown in containers. So peel your basil off the main stems as best you can. You don't have to get every little stem, but certainly the main stems you definitely want removed. This one is let's see, I can pull something off of here. I can just pinch that off mostly. And that's pretty much about ready to chop. You want to check and make sure that you haven't left any huge stems behind. They will cook down. I'm just a little bit of a perfectionist, so, well, okay, I'm a lot of a perfectionist, especially when it comes to cooking. I'm just going to cut this, and again, notice placement of the fingers. And you just want to work your way down that. You want to keep this hand, it's what they call the claw. What that does is that prevents you from getting a blade in your finger. The edge of the knife will hit your knuckles before it cuts you. So that's a fantastic tip. Especially a good one for me. I have very limited feeling in my left hand, and so that does make a huge difference. And when you want to cut something finely like this, you want to put one hand down, keep one end of the blade down, and just rock it back and forth. Go back and forth over your product, and that gives you a pretty fine chop. Okay, and from here on, I'm going to finish with my garlic and onion, and then I'm going to begin to prepare my egg and my heavy cream mixture, and then we'll start by sauteing all the veggies. You ready? Hey guys, there is one tip I thought of that I really want to share with you. It may sound like a no-brainer, but I do this all the time, and I still haven't learned my lesson. So, when you have your vegetables cut the way you want them, and they're arranged on your cutting board, and you have, let's say you have a piece of garlic. This happens to me with garlic more than anything else, because of the way that you break the skin off. But I am constantly trying to, do my, hit my clove of garlic, and almost every time I try to do this, I will, what the hell's the word I'm trying to think of? I will almost inevitably hit my garlic, and when that happens, the blade comes down and knocks your vegetables off the cutting board. So that can be a real pain in the ass, especially if you are whacking garlic hard and you've got vegetables everywhere. Then you really have vegetables everywhere. So that's a major tip, something trying to keep in mind. Like I said, I can't even keep it in mind all the time. So you either want to make sure your stuff is out of the way, or make sure your knife is positioned correctly. All right.
Okay.
Okay, folks. Another tip, fairly well-known tip, but it's also very important for a couple reasons. The first reason is really for cooking purposes. You want to try and have all your ingredients cut to the same size, at least as close to the same size as you can. Now, if you have different ingredients, you can do different sizes, especially when we're talking about uh, uh, why can't I think of what I'm saying?
Because you're on camera.
That's probably why. Anyway, it's also important, not just for the cooking, so everything cooks evenly. If you have, a big chunk of something and a little tiny chunk of something, they're going to cook at different temperatures, different speeds. Typically, you want all of your ingredients to be of roughly the same size. So, just wanted to throw that little tip in there. And now I'm going to start browning. I'm going to start with the onion. Like I said earlier, it's because the onion is a little bit tougher, a little bit heartier vegetable, and it should have an extra minute, maybe 3, to be in the hot oil. The garlic will only take, a minute or two, short period of time. You want to make sure you don't burn it. And then, of course, I've got some fresh basil here, and that is going to go in right at the last few seconds. Okay, another tip. Season at every level, and when I say level, when I'm talking about levels, I'm talking about when you're putting down your vegetables, your onions, your garlic. You want to give that a little bit of seasoning. When you throw in your mushrooms and your spinach, you might want to add a little more seasoning, and you eventually develop a knack for what's too much and what's not. I am creating a blog at gastronome.guru where I'm sure I'm going to have to figure out some proportions so I can give you all some recipes. But in any case, when I talk about levels, I'm talking about layering flavors. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little sea salt. It's fairly coarse salt, as you can see. Just add that in there, and that's going to be good to cover me for, my onions, my garlic. I may add a little bit more when I add some mushrooms. I do want to make it extra healthy and throw a little butter in there when I put the mushrooms in, and before I put the spinach in. So anyway, I'm going to let this just about ready to add the garlic, so I'll be doing that shortly. I'm going to throw about 3 tablespoons of butter into my onion, garlic, and bacon fat mixture. Butter almost always makes everything better. And in this case, because I'm going to be adding quite a few mushrooms and spinach in this, and I'm also going to pulse down my bacon that I've got prepared already. I want to make sure I've got enough liquid to help that spinach wilt. So I'm going to have got some sliced baby portobellos in my favorite food processor. I'm going to add a little extra virgin olive oil to this to help mix things up a little bit. Pulse down these mushrooms, and I'm going to pulse this down. tip. You can do this a couple different ways. Might as well just take off the top. But pulsing it allows whatever it is that you're chopping to settle to the bottom, and therefore gets back down closer to the blade and gets chopped once again. So I'm going to borrow this spoon. I'll make sure I push this down. And it's looking a little dry, so I'm going to add a little more olive oil to this. And here we go. And sometimes it helps if you with these little sticky bottoms. Sometimes it doesn't always want to cooperate, but shaking it will also help bring your larger pieces down toward the bottom. The blade itself tries to bring your product down, but when you've got a fairly full load like this, sometimes it needs some help. Actually, that looks pretty good. I think that's about evenly chopped. And so what we'll do is, before we do the bacon, if you are doing multiple items, and again, this comes down to the size of the chop that you have, because I've done this all together as one unit. All my pieces are fairly uniform. So I could throw my bacon in here, that would work, but I would prefer to go ahead and dump this into the pan, get this, go ahead and sauteing while I chop the bacon up. So there we go. And this will go into the pan. Okay, well, my daughter is grating up some Swiss cheese. I'd say we're going to need about 2.5 cups maybe, and I'm going to definitely have some extra filling left over. I am doing 2 deep dish pie crusts, but you would be surprised how quickly you can fill up two deep dish crusts, especially once you pour in the cream and the eggs. So this stuff will certainly be good for omelets or anything else you might dream up. Alright, well, as you can see, we've got our spinach in here now. We've got the onions, the garlic, we have the bacon, the mushrooms, and you can see what started out as what seemed like a whole lot of spinach will wilt down to almost nothing. But you do want to keep your cover on top of there, on top of your pan, to build up steam to help your spinach wilt. And at this point, what I'm doing is I've taken the cover off and I'm going to let this simmer. Okay, well, I have added the Swiss cheese and added some Parmesan as well. Again, that's another flavor that you have in your dish to keep things exciting. And Parmesan has got a salty flavor to it as well. So it's yeah, I don't know what the hell to say about that. Anyway, I have turned the heat off on the filling mixture, and I'm letting that cool a little bit before adding it to the pans. And as soon as I have that filling added, then I'll add the final ingredient, which will be the eggs and the cream. And my daughter's back at the helm here. She's helping me crack some eggs. We're going to use about 6 eggs, I think. We will see how it turns out. After we have the eggs in, we'll add the heavy cream, and once that's done, hopefully our mixture will have burnt off a lot of its excess liquid. So anyhow, Heather is just about done here. So after that, like I said, basically we mix in, I would say about 2 cups of cream. So I added a little cayenne, a little paprika, a little salt to this. I didn't mention earlier, but when I added butter, I used unsalted butter. Typically always try to use unsalted butter. Whip these together just gently. They don't need to be mixed perfectly at this point because I'm going to add my heavy cream here in a moment. But I do want to get these all broken up. So there we go. Now it's a little bit better. Once you have your eggs and cream mixed and your filling, put your filling in your pie crust, pour your liquid mixture on top, and then you bake it for about 45 minutes. And then you'll have a beautiful quiche.